Boys, UFC 317 is over, and Ilia Topuria for real just went out there and made history. He vacated the featherweight belt, knocked out Max Holloway, knocked out Volkanovski, moved up, had Islam Makhachev vacate his own belt, coincidentally, fights Charles Oliveira, celebrates his own win on a Thursday. Ilia Topuria went out on Thursday and celebrated his own win. He told Charles Oliveira, listen, I'm so sorry that the UFC picked you to be my next opponent. I apologize. He's been calling a round 1 knockout since this fight was announced. He goes out there and puts Charles out. He separated Charles from consciousness. I'm still a little traumatized from watching this, if I'm being honest. I am still a little bit traumatized. This is like about 25 minutes separated from me just seeing Charles Oliveira hit the floor. Okay? Why are we putting Paddy Pimblett in the octagon with Ilia Topuria? Don't we see that Justin Gaethje is next? Justin Gaethje, his last 3 is Rafael Fiziev, Dustin Poirier. No. Rafael Fiziev, Max Holloway, and then Dustin Poirier. Obviously, I'm joking. Paddy Pimblett deserves it. He went out there and just washed Michael Chandler. Paddy Pimblett just went out there and watched Michael Chandler. Charles Oliveira got a title shot. Charles Oliveira fought Michael Chandler twice, and Paddy Pimblett took him out quicker than Charles Oliveira did in both of those fights combined. But I'm not here to say that Paddy Pimblett has a chance against Ilia Topuria. He absolutely doesn't. He's going to go down in the first round just like the rest of them. But I need my Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria fight. If Islam didn't run away, this would have been the biggest pay-per-view of all time. But Islam decided to cross the road like the chickens do and move up to 170. But that's fine. That's fine. Let Ilia move up to 170. Let Ilia move up to 170. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I think he's going to try to sit here and defend the belt next, so he could be considered an actual lightweight champion. And then he's going to move up and fight Islam at 170 if Islam wins the belt. And that would be considered Islam's first defense. And boom. Bada bing, bada boom. If Ilia does this, if Ilia goes out there and sleeps Paddy Pimblett, which is, wow, not a big, I'm not really asking that much. I'm asking you to go out there and sleep Paddy Pimblett. You just beat up Charles Oliveira. I'm not asking that much from you, okay? But after that, if he moves up to 170 and knocks out the quote-unquote pound-for-pound number 1 fighter, quote-unquote, he is the GOAT. He is the undeniable. The only thing that wouldn't make him the GOAT is if he pops for PEDs. You pop for PEDs, but so far, Topuria is the GOAT. If he does that, right now, I don't know. Hey, I'm going to have to take some time. I might have to answer like Dana does when he says, listen, we only make fights on Tuesdays. I might have to answer you where he moves up in my pound-for-pound list on a Tuesday. Maybe even tomorrow. But I need some time to process this Charles Oliveira situation. I don't know what's next for Charles Oliveira. Give him Justin Gaethje. Give Justin Gaethje a bone. Please. Or give him to Dan Hooker. Let me see a Dan Hooker versus Charles Oliveira fight. That was scary. Charles Oliveira did look like he had a rough weight cut, though. Ariel Helwani asked the cuck, Ian Gary, about it, and he said, listen, he had really no information to give. But Ariel Helwani pointed it out that, hey, Charles Oliveira is covered in towels before the press conference. Why is that? That's a little odd. And we see why now. Obviously, he had a rough weight cut. He went down like a sack of potatoes in round 1. In round 1, Ilia Topuria cut Charles Oliveira open like it seemed like with a jab. It was absolutely vicious, boys. What a like performance. I'm just like honestly just like completely shocked. What a performance from Ilia Topuria, boys. Amazing, fantastic. 10 out of 10 performance from Ilia Topuria. Let him fight next month. That dude took 0 damage. Absolutely 0. That scuffle with Paddy Pimblett was pretty hilarious. Paddy Pimblett's fat as fuck. He's absolutely fat. Ilia Topuria did look a little small in there against Charles Oliveira, but hey, obviously size doesn't matter. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Talking about size doesn't matter. We're moving on to Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Kara France, the co-main event for UFC 317, and what a shocker. What an absolute shocker. Pantoja goes out there and absolutely destroys Kai Kara France. It was a little bit, competitive, if you want to call it that, but an absolute masterclass from Pantoja yet again. What were you expecting? What were you expecting? They face off Joshua Van in the octagon because Joshua Van goes out there and has a stellar performance. We're going to get to that in a second against Brandon Royval, Raw Dog Zesty Brandon Royval. But looks like Pantoja agreed to the fight. Joe Rogan was selling it. He was like, it looks like you're guaranteed to fight for the title next. He was completely hard selling it to Dana and Hunter, who were sitting cage side, by the way. But I'm ready to see a Joshua Van versus Alexander Pantoja fight. Now, that's a matchup I'm excited for. Maybe don't let Pantoja move up and fight Merab right now. Maybe not. Did you guys know that this dude, Joshua Van, was unranked just a few years ago? He was unranked just a few years ago. He debuted an amateur. In December of 2020. He debuted in pro in October of 2021. He fought 17 times in under 4 years, 8-1 in the UFC. Boys, I'm ready to see this. I did not bet on Joshua Van against Brandon Royval because I thought, listen, Brandon Royval, he only lost to Pantoja. He's only lost to Moreno, but he went out there and got that win back. I don't know if I would bet on Joshua Van to beat Pantoja. Listen, Pantoja is just levels and levels and levels above everybody else. But it's hilarious because allegedly they let Brandon Moreno sit cage side, and that performance from Joshua Van just boosted him all the way to the front. They were like, listen, you go to the front of the line. Joshua Van was unranked like 3 months ago, bro. He fought, this is his second fight in the same month. What are we doing? But I'm with it. I'm absolutely with it. This kid, Joshua Van, is on a roll. He said he broke his toe. He said he had a broken toe for the past few weeks. What an absolute savage. That guy reminds me of Rodtang. I just can't get over it. Joshua Van versus Pantoja is next. And boys, I'm ready. Listen, give Kai Kara France a Kepe fight. Let Kai Kara France fight Kepe. Let him go. Moving on, boys. Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Fight of the year nominee. My fight of the year still goes to Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodriguez. If that was in 2025, somebody check that for me. Editors, a.k.a. me, check that. I'm sure it is, but if that is in 2025, I have not seen a better fight than that yet. That is still my fight of the year. Still my fight of the year. But an absolute showing from both of these gentlemen. Joshua Van won the first round. The second round I gave to Royval. And the third round, I'm giving to Royval before he got dropped. Once he got dropped, Joshua Van stole the show. He went out there and stole the show. If this was a 5-round fight, I think Joshua Van would have won even more decisively after seeing this. We didn't pick Joshua Van. We picked Brandon Royval, like I said previously. But what a showing. What a showing from that dude. Moving on. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Beneil Dariush went out there and acted like a savage. Close fight. A little bit of a boring fight. Seemed very weird seeing Renato Moicano with his head shaved. Very odd. I don't know who we're giving Beneil Dariush's old ass next for being for real. Maybe give him Gamrot. Maybe give him Gamrot again. He beat Gamrot already, but I don't know. Don't waste any good prospects on Beneil Dariush. No disrespect, but he has no star. He has absolutely no star power. Everybody else in the division has star power, brother. They do. Moving on. Felipe Lima versus Payne Talbot, Frank Ocean's boyfriend. Felipe Lima, you've absolutely disappointed me. Absolutely disappointed me. I know I said you should have shot 25, 30 takedowns in the fight because of Payne Talbot's last performance against Barcelos, right? But listen, sometimes you have to adjust mid-fight. Just like Joshua Van did with those weird, oblique kicks against Brandon Royval, you might have to adjust. You did zero adjusting. Your coaches tried to, but you just kind of kept trying to get to takedown. Your brain was like, I have takedown. Payne Talbot looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, there were some moments when he was on the ground where he looked a little bit stuck, but he had the heart to pull himself out of there. And weird call out. I forgot who he called out, but a weird call out coming from Payne Talbot. I do not have it written down. But Felipe Lima, you've disappointed me. You ruined my parlay. Absolute disappointment. Moving on to the complete opposite of an absolute disappointment. Gregory Rodriguez, my boy RoboCop, went out there and destroyed Jack Hermanson in the first round, put him down, put him out. He had to be carried out there. They had him in the back. They kept giving updates about Jack Hermanson throughout the whole card. It was honestly pretty weird, but a little bit spooky. They were like, yes, he's fine. He's in the back room. He's being monitored. We will give another update in 15 minutes. I was like, hey, I'm looking at my friend. I'm like, hey, listen, I don't think that's not a good sign. If he was good, they don't give updates if you're good. You don't get an update on live TV if you are fine. You get where I'm going here? But Gregory Rodriguez went out there and did exactly what I told you guys he was going to do. He went out there and put my boy down. Put my boy down. Okay, moving on, boys. Jose DeGaldo versus Hyder Emil. I kind of told you guys to stay away from this fight because this fight was going to be a little bit spooky. But Jose DeGaldo went out there and had one of the quickest finishes of the whole card besides Terrence McKinney. He went out there and acted like, oh no, this is quicker than the Terrence McKinney finish. He went out there and acted like a savage. Knee, and then went out there and ground and pounded him. Okay, Hyder Emil was 11-0. Now my boy is 11-1. Jose Aldo moved up to 10-1. He was 9-1 previously before this fight. What an absolute showing. What an absolute showing. Hyder Emil kind of got fraud checked. He kind of got fraud. My boy kind of got fraud checked. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Moving on, Tracy Cortez versus who gives a fuck? Vivan, whatever. Tracy Cortez went out there and shook her little ass and did her thing. Got the W, decision, unanimous, 3 rounds. I don't even watch women's MMA. I'm going to be honest with you. I see women's MMA. That's a break for me. I'm going outside. I'm doing something else. I need to do something else. You see what I am not wasting 15 minutes, 20, 35 minutes of my precious time, E-Rock's precious time, on a women's fight. I don't care if it's Tracy. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Jessica Andrade, okay? I know there's some people out there who find that woman attractive, but I could care less, okay? Moving on. Terrence McKinney submits my boy, Russian Santa Claus, Vyacheslav Borishklov, in 55 seconds. What an absolute savage. My boy went through 3 submission transitions on the ground with Vyacheslav before, settling on a weird mounted guillotine and almost put my boy out. He tapped out, and what an absolute showing. Listen, it's known Terrence McKinney either knocks you out or gets knocked out in the first, and now we're just going to have to say Terrence McKinney will either finish you or get finished in the first. That's just the update. I was kind of hoping, I had a long Hail Mary bet that Terrence McKinney was going to win this fight via decision, and obviously not. My boy T-Rex went out there and handled business. Let him fight on the Dustin card. Hey, let him fight on the Derek Lewis card that's next week. He has nothing else to do. He went out there and won in 50. I don't even think Terrence got punched. I think he just got leg kicked, caught the leg kick, and took my boy Russian Santa Claus down to the ground, and that was it. I really do. Moving on, boys. Jacoby Smith versus Nico Price. Jacoby Smith took a little too long to take Nico Price out. He took him out in the second round, but I'm going to be honest with you. That was a long time. It was a little bit of a fraud check, if you ask me. My boy was like a minus 3,000, 2,000 opening up on the betting lines. Okay? I don't really have that much to say about Jacoby Smith. He's 11-0. He's undefeated. I don't think that dude is going to win his next UFC fight. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nico Price more than likely is going to get cut from that performance, if we're being real, boys. Moving on to my boy, Alvin Hines versus Joanna Dins. Fuck you, Joanna Dins. I don't like you. Alvin Hines, he was 7-0 before coming in here. He served, I believe, 14 years for a robbery, a burglary, something like that. But he has the heart of a lion. His record now says 7-1, but who knows how many county fades my boy has had? Who knows how many prison fades my boy has had and won? Okay, could be 101 right now. That could have been the only fade he lost. Could be his record could look like Rod Tanks. All right. I'm kind of a little upset that my boy Alvin Hines won. It looked like Rock'em Sock'em Robots out there in that octagon. He ended up with 2 eyes shut, cuts everywhere. It was definitely a beating. But I was rooting for my boy who was plus 360 during the opening, like before, these boys touched gloves. But I'm a little upset that my boy lost, but at least he signed. We're going to see some more showings from him. And a few cancellations for this card. We had Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. That got rescheduled to the Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway card. Brandon Royval versus Manuel Kepe. Manuel Kepe broke his foot. Joshua Van stepped in, and we saw what Joshua Van did on short notice, by the way. Justin Tafa withdrew against Joanna Dins, and that's why Joanna Dins got my boy Alvin Hines, who's going to be a champion one day, mark my words. Cedric Dumas had a fight against Jackson McVeigh. Cedric Dumas had to withdraw because he couldn't get his ankle monitor reportedly off in time. I don't know how true that is, just kept seeing that on Twitter. Jackson McVeigh had another fight against Christopher Ewart. They signed on short notice. Ewart was 10 pounds overweight, so he got cut on the phone by Hunter Campbell. Hunter Campbell allegedly called this dude personally and said, hey, you're out of the UFC. Get the fuck out of the hotel. I have canceled your hotel room. You are going back to wherever you came from right now. Listen, I would give this card a solid 9. A solid 9. 9.5, maybe. What an absolute savage ending for Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira, I don't know what they're going to give you next, but Ilia Topuria, bro, is just looking like something else. An unstoppable monster. An unstoppable monster. What are we going to do with this guy? Round 1 knockout. Finished him quicker than he finished Max Holloway. Finished him quicker than he finished Volkanovski. What are we going to do with Ilia Topuria, boys? I'm out.